As the laughter in the house grew louder, I continued to slowly spin the crystal glass on the coffee table in the corner of the living room, gently touching it with my slender fingers. The only thing in my glass was water, but in Marcus's, from the bottle of 30-year-old single malt I had opened for tonight, was something much stronger. How ironic. Marcus! We've been married for 8 years. In the early days of our marriage, his interest in me seemed genuine. He would always say, "I believe in you. You're just waiting for the right time, I know it." But over time, his belief turned to contempt, and his affection turned to arrogance. And I stayed silent. I continued to play the role of the unemployed, unsuccessful wife to him and everyone around us. It was all just a game from the beginning. "Emma, I still don't understand why you're unemployed," Marcus said loudly, looking at his friends. "Maybe being a housewife is all you're good for?" Another round of laughter erupted. Daniel, who sat next to him, was the marketing director at his company. He laughed, too. "But at least you have good taste in decorating. You picked this house really well, Emma." "This house? It's mine. They don't know, but I financed everything in this house. The art on the walls, the imported furniture they're sitting on, everything was bought with the profits from my first company. I'm not Emma. I'm Emma Weber, an internationally recognized tech investor, the founder of 3 anonymous companies, and the silent CEO with 87% ownership of Reynolds AG. But no one knows that yet. Tonight I'm sitting here pretending to be like them. Quiet, in the background, an unemployed woman. Tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., when I step into the company's ground floor, the story will change completely. And Marcus is not just my husband, but also the leader of the old school group of 5 senior executives at the company. Each one of them is one of those arrogant men slowly rotting the company from the inside. I've been working with a private research firm for the past year. Data, voice recordings, video footage, and internal emails on each of them have been collected. One of the people who sent demeaning emails about me to their bosses is currently sipping his whiskey by the fireplace. But the time has come. Tonight will be my last silent wife night. Marcus turned to me and glanced over. "Sweetheart," he said, his voice soft with fake affection. "Have you thought about what you're going to wear for your meeting tomorrow? Maybe that red sweater will work. It has before." Another round of laughter. At that moment, I simply smiled, because I was already prepared for that meeting. Tomorrow's meeting is actually my first face-to-face meeting with the board of directors. Until now, they only knew me by the signature Alex W. I was a mysterious figure, working in secret, only communicating through high-security systems and never appearing on camera. But now, the curtain will rise, and I can't wait to see the look on Marcus's face. I placed my glass on the table and slowly stood up. "I'm in my room," I said, making my voice sound shaky. "I'll be up early tomorrow." "I hope it's a miracle for you," Daniel called out behind me. Marcus laughed. "Who knows? Maybe Starbucks will finally take you." When I closed the door to my room, I no longer felt like the sorrowful woman, but my true self. I opened the hidden panel inside my wardrobe. Inside, my custom-made navy blue suit, with a delicate pin matching the company's colors, and my CEO security badge were waiting for me. Alongside them were 5 envelopes, the termination letters prepared specifically for Marcus and his friends. Each one is legally sealed and valid. Tomorrow morning, I will send each of them out from my own company, and none of them will have anywhere left to go. 5:30 a.m. The city was still asleep, but my sleepless night had come to an end. In front of the mirror, I was pressing a cold compress lightly under my eyes, while wiping off the last remnants of my mask from the night. Today, nothing would ever be the same again, and the first one to realize that would be Marcus. While he snored in bed, I was already ready. I was wearing a plain navy suit, no logos, no brand names that would stand out, just the way I wanted it. Simple but clear. The name on the visitor's card pinned to me was part of this morning's game, Anna Weiss. To them, I was just another unqualified candidate, but to me, I was preparing for my final rehearsal on my stage. I entered the building through the back entrance. The security guard didn't even raise his head when I stepped onto the elevator. That was the whole plan, to go unnoticed. The private elevator to the executive floor wasn't assigned to me yet, or so they thought. The person waiting for me was Sarah. She's my most loyal consultant in the field. She's also the person they believe is Marcus's personal assistant. "Everything's ready," she said quietly. "All the data, signed documents, board approval, everything will flow in sequence." I nodded. "The interview will start at 9 a.m. Marcus, and the others will be in their weekly meeting at that time. Peterson will keep them occupied," she added. Peterson. My guy. Not just the ordinary department manager they think he is. He's my eyes and ears in the shadows within the company. 8:15 a.m., I'm in the lobby. I'm playing the part of being slightly tense and a bit embarrassed. I keep flipping through the company brochure in my hands, though I wrote its contents. I smile gently at each employee who walks by. Some don't even look up. And then, at exactly 8:46 a.m., Marcus enters the building. As always, he's wearing an overly expensive suit. He's talking on the phone, accompanied by two others, Daniel and Patrick. They don't see me. Even if they did, they wouldn't recognize me. They walk by without lifting their heads. I suppress my smile. 8:59 a.m. The HR representative arrives. "Anna Weiss? That's me." My smile is shaky, and my voice is slightly hoarse. The sound of my high heels echoes in the hallways. The interview room has glass walls. You can see inside from the outside. And inside, I'm the candidate being evaluated. Marcus is sitting in the meeting room just outside the glass. He's resting his cheek on his hand, smiling. Someone is talking to him, and then they all laugh. A familiar scene. The condescending, mocking laughter. But this time, the sounds don't stick to me. Because now, I don't think they're laughing at me. I see how small they really are. The interview begins. First, they ask me about my resume. I give slightly incomplete answers. I deliberately get some technical details wrong. Their facial expressions are clear. She doesn't deserve another chance. Then, we move on to the panel interview. 3 men. I know them all. I have their resumes, salary details, and scandals in my hands. But now they're looking down on me. "Anna, profiles like yours are quite common for us," one of them says. "Why haven't you given up yet with all the gaps in your resume?" Another one sighs in annoyance while checking his phone. Cliché questions, impatient stares, indifferent attitudes. In my head, "Gentlemen, I built your company." But I continue with that same humble expression on my face. The interview ends. I'm dismissed as one of the candidates who will never hear back. As I walk out of the corridor, I hear Marcus's laughter. "Was that really your wife? What a hopeless woman." And someone else. "I think she bought her clothes at Target. What a shame." But I keep walking. I'm no longer Anna Weiss. I enter the restroom. The last stall. Inside, there's a clothing bag that was placed there earlier this morning. After a while, when I step out, I'm wearing a navy Chanel suit with silver buttons, high heels, and my CEO security badge. I am the true owner of the building now. A few people passing by the glass stop in their tracks. One looks, then looks again. The interview candidate from earlier is now someone else. But I've always been this way. Emma Weber, founder, CEO, the woman who laughs last today. The metal doors of the private elevator slowly opened, and the storm inside me had completely calmed. No heart racing, no trembling, only a quiet strength. The executive floor was bathed in the morning light. Outside the windows, the city was still waking up, but inside, everything had already begun moving. The board members were seated. They all knew me, but they were about to see me face to face for the first time. The people who had known me for years, only by the signature E. Weber, would now learn who made those strategic decisions, who handled those big deals. I paused at the threshold of the door and stepped inside. Silence. The board chairman, Gustav, was the first to speak. "Emma, you really..." I smiled and nodded. "Yes, I'm the founder of the company. I've been working behind the scenes for years. Now I'm on stage." No one objected. The documents in their hands, the signatures, the authority letters, the stock transfers. They were all mine. And they knew that already. But there was something they didn't know. Today's first step wasn't just to meet the board, it was also to strike the final blow to eliminate years of injustice. 10:02 a.m. As I walked down the corridor after the board meeting, the employees who saw me could tell something had changed. Eyes were on me, but I was walking toward only one goal: the conference room. Marcus and his friend's weekly executive meeting. Peterson was waiting for me at the door. We locked eyes. "Ready?" he asked. I had been ready for years. The door was slightly open. The voices from inside were familiar. Laughter, nicknames, condescending tones. Just as Marcus's voice rose. "So that interview? I mean, if someone actually handed me that CV, I'd throw it straight in the trash. And she's my wife." I stepped inside. All the laughter in the room suddenly stopped. The sound of my heels echoed off the walls as Marcus's coffee cup hovered in the air. "Good meeting, gentlemen," I said. My voice was neither shouting nor whispering. The only thing filling the room was clarity. "Emma? What is this nonsense?" "This," I said, showing my card, "is your company's CEO giving you your final warning." Daniel interjected, trying to laugh. "This can't be a joke, right? Peterson, where are the cameras?" Peterson took a step back and pulled out documents from his bag. "No, everything is official." Marcus stood up. Why did you do this to me? Why did you stay silent all this time?" The answer was simple. "Because it took me time to get to know you, Marcus. To know you, your friends, your games. But enough is enough. As of today, all of your employment contracts are terminated. Various: harassment, discrimination, abuse of power, leaking company information, false expenses." Patrick stepped forward. "This can't be true." "Along with the envelope in your hand, all the accusations will be presented in documented form," I said. "And your lawyers, if you still have any faith in them, can represent you through this process." Marcus's face went pale. You're my wife." "No, Marcus," I said. "You fell in love with my shadow. You never truly knew the real me. Now you'll pay the price for what you lived through in my shadow." As I turned away, the only thing I heard was the creaking sound of his chair. That was the only sound left, the sound of helplessness. As I stepped outside the room, I looked at the screen of my phone. I had a message from Sarah. "Footage is ready. The media statement will go live at 3 p.m. The executive team change content has been approved." I smiled. I had stayed silent for years, but now everyone would know who I really am, what I've achieved, and how small those who once laughed at me now seemed. After stepping out of the conference room, every step I took was on ground that was now mine. The corridors where I had walked in their shadow for years were now silently retreating in front of me. Employees were avoiding eye contact, some were whispering, and others were frozen in surprise. They recognized me. But they didn't know who I truly was. Now, they did. When I entered my private office, Sarah was waiting for me. She had her tablet in hand, her eyes determined. "The footage has been uploaded. The media release is ready. The social media team is on standby. The management is waiting for your approval to send the internal announcement," she said. "Let's do it," I simply replied. No excitement. Just clarity. Just a systematic transformation. An hour later, an official announcement was sent to all employees via Reynolds AG's internal communication system, new management structure, and CEO introduction. Founder: Emma Weber. CEO: Emma Weber. Strategic restructuring process has begun. At the same time, a statement published on the company's social media accounts stated that the company would reshape its corporate culture around the principles of ethics, transparency, and inclusivity in the coming period. And in the exclusive footage leaked to the press, there was a video of Marcus mocking me for being unemployed, a hidden audio recording of Peterson under the table, Daniel's emails. It was all laid out openly. When the security card was deactivated, Marcus was still trying to enter his office. "I'm the VP here," he shouted at the lobby attendant. The attendant answered without flinching. "Not anymore, Mr. Weber. Please leave the building." His belongings were packed, as per my instructions. They were loaded onto a truck under the supervision of a special security team. The delivery address was set to his mother's house in the town he had once belittled as useless before we got married. When I returned to my office, Sarah came in with new updates. A block has been placed on Marcus's bank accounts. He tried to sell his shares, but suspicions of insider trading arose. The lawyers have filed a report with the SEC. Official proceedings start tomorrow. I nodded. What's the status on the internal audit? I asked. All spending files from the last 3 years are being reviewed. Irregular payments have started to appear in Patrick and Daniel's files. Security footage has shown them taking personal vacations using company cars. I simply said, these are just the beginning. The sun was slowly setting over the city. Another chapter was coming to an end. But this wasn't a collapse. It was a rebirth. The next day, I was about to step onto the stage for the first all-company meeting I would address. I took one last look in the mirror. The old, frightened, crushed, unemployed wife was no longer there. In her place stood a leader, standing tall. As I walked out in front of the crowd, the room fell silent. I began. Some of you knew me as Marcus Weber's wife. Some of you may not have known me at all. But today, you need to know me. I'm Emma Weber. I'm the founder of this company, and I will no longer remain silent. The applause that followed was first hesitant, then bold, because there, standing on that stage, was not just a CEO, but the voice of everyone who had been suppressed, belittled, and ignored for years. When I returned to my office after the meeting, Sarah walked in. "We have new developments," she said. "What happened?" I asked. "Marcus reached out to a PR consultant last night. He wanted to start image repair work." But, I asked. Sarah smiled and continued. "The consultant's firm is one of the subsidiaries we control." I tilted my head slightly and smiled. He had to buy his own story from us. 3 months had passed. Reynolds AG was no longer just a tech company. It had become a symbol of corporate transformation. The old names on the executive floor had been replaced by young, determined, and honest people. Ideas that were once whispered behind closed doors were now openly discussed in large meeting rooms. And as I walked to my office every morning, I carried with me more than just a title. On my shoulders was the belief of everyone who had helped rebuild this company. That morning, Sarah walked in with files, a slight smile on her face. "Marcus's lawyer brought the final offer," she said. She placed the file in front of me. Inside were settlement requests, apology draft suggestions, image repair plans, all delayed, insufficient, and worthless. I closed the file. "Silence is the best response," I said. Marcus was a different man now. His downfall wasn't just professional, it was personal. He had moved back to his mother's house, closed his social media accounts, and watched as the people he had considered friends turned their backs on him. The man who had told me for years, "You'll never succeed," could no longer carry himself. I hadn't wanted to destroy him, but the truth was inevitable. He had no spine to carry it. That afternoon, we gathered again in the company's grand hall. This time, it was for celebration. In the final quarter of the year, revenue had increased by 40%, and employee satisfaction was at record levels. The fear that once permeated the rooms had been replaced by trust. I stepped up to the podium, looked out at the crowd seated before me. "Today, we're not just celebrating our success," I said. "We're also remembering this. True strength lies not in raising your voice, but in taking action when the time comes." I was silent because I was making plans. I was silent because I was watching. I was silent because there was a will growing in that silence. And now, we speak together, with the voice of justice, equality, and our values. As the applause rose, my eyes briefly drifted to the back row. Jennifer, the software engineer who had been dismissed by the old management for being too emotional, was now heading our AI department. Dozens of people like her were now shining in their rightful places, because they weren't afraid, because they didn't give up. Because when a woman is silent, she is always preparing to say something else. After the celebration, I returned to my office. I looked out the window. Everything in the city was flowing as usual, but I knew nothing was the same anymore. There was a letter on my desk, from Marcus, handwritten in a simple envelope. Only 4 words. I wish I had listened to you. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer. As a memory of the past, not with anger, not with sorrow, just as a lesson. The next morning, as I sat at the head of the table for our meeting, one sentence crossed my mind. The floor was ours now, and it truly was. Because this wasn't just my story. It was the rise of those who had been belittled, excluded, and silenced for years, and their rise could no longer be stopped. If this story has impacted you and you'd like to see more content like it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and turn on notifications. I'll be here with new stories that will surprise you, make you think, and deeply move you every time.